The girl in the cage Eva alien market was loud and dirty. Smoke filled the air. People shouted, sold weapons, rare tech, and living creatures in cages. It was not a place for kindness. It was a place for money, deals, and fear. In the center of the market stood a large metal cage. Inside it sat a girl, not human, not machine. Something else. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes glowing silver. Her arms were chained. Her feet were bare. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just stared at the ground. They called her the Beast. Traders laughed when they talked about her. She killed 10 men with her hands. One said, "Ma'am, she burned a whole lab with her eyes." Said another, "She's not a girl, she's a monster." But no one really knew the truth. No one had seen her do anything. She never spoke, never screamed, never cried. Just silence. Cold silence. She had been locked in that cage for weeks. Some came to look. Some came to buy, but they all walked away. Untamable, the vendor would say. Too dangerous. Better to sell her for meat. One day, a ship landed near the market. It was small, old, almost broken. A human stepped out. His clothes were dusty. His face tired. He walked with a limp. People didn't notice him until he stopped in front of the cage. He looked at the girl. She looked. Back, their eyes met. She didn't blink. He didn't move. It felt like time stopped. The market faded into the background. No sound, just a silent connection between two strangers. The vendor noticed and came closer. "You want to buy her?" He laughed. "You must be crazy. She'll rip your head off." "How much?" the man asked. The vendor stared. "You serious?" The man nodded. "Everything you have," the vendor said, testing him. The man pulled out a bag. Inside were credits, tools, and small vials of fuel. All he had left. He didn't flinch. He handed it over. "You're giving your last fuel." For her, the vendor said. "I don't see a monster," the man replied. "I see someone who wants to be free." People in the market started watching. Some laughed. Some whispered, "Stupid human." Others shook their heads. But the deal was made. The man stepped closer to the cage. Slowly, carefully, he pressed the code. The cage unlocked with a hiss. The chains dropped. The girl did not move. He reached out his hand. That's when she lunged. Her hand closed around his throat. Quick, strong, fast as lightning. People screamed. The man didn't fight. He didn't run. He just looked into her eyes. "You're free," he whispered. His voice was calm. "You can kill me, or you can come with me." Her grip stayed strong. Her eyes studied him. Deep, cold, glowing eyes. Then slowly, she let go. She stepped out of the cage. Gasps filled the air. No one had ever seen her move before. The man turned and walked. She followed. They reached his ship. It was old and broken, but it still worked. Barely inside, she looked around, touched the walls, sat in the corner. The man gave her food, simple bread and fruit. She stared at it, then slowly picked it up and ate. Still, she said nothing. He sat across from her. "Do you have a name?" he asked. Silence. "Mine's Ray," he said. "I used to be a pilot, fought in the border wars, lost a lot. My crew, my home. My daughter," her head moved slightly. She looked at him for a second, then looked away. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "You've been alone too long. I get it." She looked at the stars outside the window. He checked the controls. Fuel was almost gone. Enough for one short jump. After that, nothing. But he didn't care. He looked back at her. "You don't belong in a cage," he said. "No one does." Still, she said nothing. He leaned back in his seat. The ship lifted off. Engines weak, but working, they left the planet. No one followed. For now, she finally spoke. One word. Soft, dry. Why? Ray looked at her. Because you were worth it. She stared at him. For the first time, something changed in her eyes. Not anger. Not fear. Something else. Something like trust. Then the lights on the ship flickered. Warning signs beeped. Fuel almost empty. Ray didn't panic. He just smiled. Let's see how far we can go, he said. The girl looked at him, then looked at the stars again, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone. Asterisk, the stars looked quiet. But danger was never far. Ray sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the fuel gauge. The red light blinked. One jump left. Maybe last stop behind him. The girl sat with her knees to her chest, watching him, still silent, still unsure. Outside the window, the market planet was shrinking into the dark, but in the memory of the people there, one strange question echoed. Why would a human waste his last fuel? On her flashback just minutes earlier, the vendor stared at Ray like he was insane. You're giving up all your fuel. For this thing, you'll die out there. Ray didn't answer. He only looked at the girl in the cage. She didn't move. But her eyes watched closely now, more alert than ever before. The vendor leaned in, lowering his voice. You know what she is, right? She's not just a slave. She's not even a person. She was made in a lab, grown for war. She killed her creators and escaped. Do you really think she'll follow your orders? Ray's voice was soft. I'm not looking for a soldier, like giving her a choice. A choice. The vendor laughed coldly. She's not human. She doesn't even know what that means. Ray opened his bag and dropped everything he had. Tools, tech, even food rations, and last, a small crystal vial. The vendor's eyes widened. Fusion-grade fuel, ... enough for one jump. You're serious? Ray nodded. Deal. Deal, the vendor whispered. She's yours now, or your problem. The market fell silent as the cage opened. Back in the present, the ship shook slightly. Old wires hummed. The girl looked around, alert but calm. Ray stood and walked toward her with a blanket. He gently placed it near her feet. You'll feel cold. Soon, he said. Engines mess with the heat cycle. She didn't touch it. He nodded and turned back toward the console. You're scared, she said suddenly. Ray turned. Her voice was quiet, flat, but real. You gave up everything. You don't even know me. Ray sat down slowly. I'm not scared of you, he said. I'm scared of what happens to people when no one tries to help. She looked at her hands. Thin, strong, scarred. I don't remember my name, she said. They gave me numbers. Code, pain. You don't need numbers anymore, Ray replied. You're not a thing. She tilted her head. Then what am I? You'll decide that yourself. She watched him for a long moment, then said, You gave your last fuel for me. Ray smiled a little. Fuel can be earned again. A soul, that's something you fight for. Her eyes shimmered. Meanwhile, back on the market planet, the vendor held the fuel vial up to the light. Nothing. He turned to a shadowy figure behind him. Tall, armored. Dangerous. She's off-world now, the vendor said. With a human some fool named Ray. The shadow handed him a credit chip. You said she was dangerous, the voice growled. More than you know, the vendor replied. She escaped once. She'll do it again. The figure nodded and stepped into a black ship. It rose into the sky, silent and fast, tracking, tenting, back on Ray's. Ship the lights flickered again. Ray sighed. We can't jump far. We need a planet, hidden, unmarked. Someplace they won't follow. The girl stood now. She moved slowly, like someone remembering how to walk free, Ray turned to her. "Do you want me to drop you off somewhere? I won't stop you." She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the control panel and touched the screen gently. Suddenly, the system came alive. Brighter, faster, Ray stared. "How did you?" She didn't look at him. "I was designed to bond with machines, not feel, not think, just follow orders." "But you're not doing that now." She turned to him. "No. Because you didn't give me an order. You gave me a choice." A small light blinked on the screen, a hidden route to a dark zone. "Off-grid, safe." Ray smiled. "Good work." For the first time, she gave a tiny smile back. Barely there, but real. Ray leaned back in his chair, breathing slow. She sat beside him, not close, not far. The ship floated through dark space, heading into the unknown. But something had changed. She was no longer just the girl in the cage. Now, she was the girl who had been given a choice, and somewhere, far behind them, a ship followed in silence, hunting the girl who should never have been free. She had never seen stars before. Not like this, open, free, and endless. For the first time, she wasn't behind bars. She was sitting in a ship beside a man who had given up everything, just to save her. And yet, she still didn't trust him. Ray checked the ship screen again. Fuel, 6% shields, low oxygen, stable for now. He looked over at the girl. She was awake, alert, but always silent. Her glowing eyes scanned every detail like a weapon waiting to be fired. "Don't have to watch me all the time," Ray said, half smiling. She said nothing. "You think I'm going to sell you to?" he asked. Still silence. Then she spoke. "Why did you really buy me?" Ray didn't turn to her. He just stared at the stars. "Because I once had a daughter," he said softly. "She was taken by soldiers. I couldn't save her. I couldn't even try." The girl's eyes shifted. A flicker of emotion, not trust, but something close. "You saw her in me?" she asked. "No," Ray said. "I saw someone who needed help, and no one else was helping." She looked away. "I don't know how to be free." Ray replied, "That's okay. You'll learn." Suddenly, an alarm beeped. A red light flashed on the screen. Ray stood up fast. "No, .. The scanner showed a small, fast ship behind them. Black, no ID code. A hunter? They followed us, Ray said. The girl's eyes narrowed. The vendor told them. "He sold your kindness." "Can you do something?" he asked. With the ship systems, she shook her head. "Not fast enough. They'll catch us in minutes." Ray gripped the controls. "Then we run." The engine roared as Ray pushed the ship forward, but their fuel was weak. The hunter was gaining fast. A voice came through the radio. Cold, robotic. "You are carrying stolen property. Release the subject or be destroyed." Ray replied, "She's not property. This is your final warning." The girl stood beside Ray, calm, silent. Then she said, "Let them board." Ray turned to her. "What? I know how they think," she said. "They want me alive. They won't kill us yet. You're asking me to let them take you back." "No," she said. "I'm asking you to trust me." Ray looked at her eyes, steady, focused, then he turned off the engines. The ship slowed. The hunter ship moved in minutes. Minutes later, metal claws grabbed the sides of Ray's ship. Doors opened. 3 armored aliens stepped in with plasma rifles. "Step away from the subject," one said. Ray stood in front of her. She stepped around him. "I'll go," she said, "but only with you." The aliens looked confused. One of them stepped forward and grabbed her arm. Big mistake. She didn't scream. She didn't fight. She just blinked. Suddenly, the lights exploded. Panels sparked. The hunter ship's power died instantly. Ray ducked. The girl moved like lightning, silent, sharp, deadly. One alien flew into the wall. Another dropped like a stone. The last one raised his gun, but the girl crushed it with her hand. Then placed her fingers on his head. A flash of white light. He dropped, unconscious. Ray looked around. The whole hunter's ship was dead. No power, no sound. "You said you couldn't do it fast," he said. She looked at him. "I lied." Back on their ship, she sat on the floor, breathing hard. Ray brought her water. "You okay?" T asked. "I didn't kill them," she said. "I wanted to, but I didn't." Ray sat beside her. "That's your choice now." She looked up at him, her voice softer. "You were ready to die for me." "I still am," he said. "But I'd rather live with you free." Outside, the broken hunter ship floated dead in space. Inside, Ray's ship drifted on. One last fuel spark left. The girl stood beside Ray at the window. "They'll send more," she said. "I know," he replied. "But maybe next time we don't run. Maybe we fight." She looked at him, and for the first time, her eyes glowed with something new. Not rage, not pain, hope. ChatGPT said. She stood alone in the dark hallway of the ship, staring at her own reflection in a cracked piece of metal. For a long time, she didn't move. Not even a blink. There was no cage now. No chains. No voice telling her what to do. So why did she still feel trapped? Ray was in the engine room, working on the ship. The lights flickered again. The old ship. Was tired, so was he. "You okay?" He called out. She didn't answer. She pressed her hand to the metal wall. Surface rippled faintly under her fingers. Not from the ship, but from her. It always responded to her touch, like it remembered. Her, the machines. They always remembered her. But she never remembered herself. She walked slowly to the control panel. The lights were dim. Her hand hovered over the power grid. She didn't touch it. Not yet. Ray stepped into the room behind her, wiping grease from his hands. "That panel hasn't worked in years," he said. She touched it. It lit up instantly. Soft white light flooded the room. Ray froze. "How?" She didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the screen. Maps, files, tech logs, all opening without a password. The system wasn't rejecting her. It was welcoming her. "I was built to control things," she said quietly. "Not to think, not to feel. Just connect. Obey." "But you didn't." "Obey," Ray said. "You chose?" "No," she said. "You chose." When no one else would, Ray stepped closer. "So, what are you, really?" She blinked. "I'm a weapon." Silence filled the ship. Not heavy, just real. Ray sat down next to her, slowly. "Do you want to be one?" She turned her head. "I don't know what else to be." He nodded, then said, "Maybe start with a name." She looked confused. "A name?" she asked. He smiled. "Yeah, not. A number. Something yours." She thought for a long time. Then quietly, she said, "Nova." Ray smiled. "Nova. That's good. Powerful." She looked down at her hands. "I don't want to hurt people anymore." "Don't have to," Ray said, "unless they try to hurt you." Then, maybe just a little. A small smile touched her lips, just for a second. Suddenly, alarms blared. Ray jumped up. "What?" Now, Nova stood already, scanning the screen. A massive ship appeared from deep space. Bigger than anything Ray had ever seen. Dark metal, no lights, no name. Just a signal, encrypted. Hunting Nova's face changed. "I know that ship," she said. "It's the one that created me." Ray's voice dropped. "They're not here to ask questions." "No," Nova said. "They're here to bring me back, or destroy everything." Ray checked the fuel gauge. "One jump left," he muttered. "Not enough to outrun them." Nova turned toward the engine room. "What are you doing?" Ray asked. "I'm going to give us more time," she said. Nova, but she was already gone. In the engine room, she placed both hands on the core. Her veins lit up. Soft blue light traveling through her arms into the machine. Circuits spun. Wires sparked. The engine glowed bright white. Ray watched from the doorway, stunned. "You're powering the ship?" "I am the power," she whispered. The engines roared to life. "Fuel 100%, Ray blinked. "Nova, that could kill you." She turned, her face calm. "Then it's a good thing I'm not just alive. Tive, I'm awake." And the ship leaped into the stars. Behind them, the warship turned. Slowly, patiently. The hunt was far from over. But now, the weapon they were chasing had a name. And a reason to fight. The pirate ship drifted in the shadows of a dying moon, cold, silent, and watching Dot inside. No alarms rang, no lights flashed. But everyone on board felt it. Something was coming. Something powerful, and not entirely human. The first officer leaned. Over the console, unregistered jump detected. Came out less than 300 clicks from our position. The captain, a tall creature with scarred skin and cybernetic eyes, growled low. "Scan it." "No ship ID," the officer replied. "Looks patched, human-built. But there's something inside. Something bright. Too bright." The captain's eyes narrowed. "Prepare to board." Ray didn't know they were being watched. Not yet. He was too busy trying to fix the cooling system. It had gone red hot after Nova merged with the ship's engine. "I swear this thing's held together with spit and hope." He muttered. Nova sat near the front, watching the stars scroll. Past. She was quieter now, not afraid, focused. She could feel the ship in her mind. Every wire, every pulse. It listened to her now, but something else was out there. "They're near," she said. Ray looked up. "Who?" "I don't know," she said. "But they're close, and they're not from the lab. These ones want something else." Ray didn't ask how she knew. He trusted her instincts now, even if they weren't human. The ship jolted. They both looked at the screen. An enormous pirate vessel blocked their path, silent, unmarked, already pulling them in with a magnetic tether. Ray stood up fast. "No weapons, no shields. We can't fight that." Nova didn't move. "Then don't." "You're not seriously thinking of letting them board again?" "I'm not," she said. He blinked. "Then what?" But the lights went black dot. The pirates expected fear. They expected a human pilot begging for his life. They didn't expect silence as they cut through Ray's ship with metal claws. They found the cabin empty, dark, cold, too quiet. They moved in groups. Flashlights on, guns ready. "Find the girl," their leader growled. "She's worth more than this rust bucket." In the shadows, Nova stood behind a wall, eyes glowing. Faintly, she didn't move yet. She was listening. Voices, weapons, fear. She wasn't scared. She was remembering. They had done this before. Years ago, maybe more. A raid, a cage, a needle, Kala. Not this time. She stepped out. The first pirate aimed his rifle. She raised her hand, and the lights inside their helmets exploded. One by one, they dropped, screaming, choking, not dead, but cut off. Blind, helpless, Ray watched from behind the control panel, stunned. She didn't touch them. She didn't even move fast. She just commanded. The ship obeyed her. Wires curled from the walls, locking pirate boots to the floor. Screens flashed warnings in their own language. She is awake. Later, Ray sat on the floor of the ship, surrounded by unconscious pirates, all trapped in makeshift cells made from the ship's own metal. Nova sat across from him. Eyes dimmer now. You didn't kill them, he said. No, she replied. I didn't want to. He nodded. That's important. She looked down, but I could have. That's what makes the difference. Outside the window, the stars were quiet again, but the message had been sent. To anyone watching, she wasn't running anymore, and she was never going back in. A caged dot, not for pirates, not for scientists, not for anyone. ChatGPT said, the first time someone tried to save her, she almost killed him. The second time, she saved him instead. Nova didn't understand why her hands stopped shaking when Ray was near. She didn't understand the feeling in her chest when he smiled at her. It was strange, uncomfortable. Alive, she had been built. For destruction. Trained for silence, programmed to obey. But none of her creators taught her what it felt like to protect someone. Not until now. Ray winced as he wrapped a cloth around his arm. One of the pirates had gotten a lucky hit before Nova stopped them. He tried not to show the pain, but Nova could see it. You should rest, she said. Ray looked up at her with a half smile. I'll rest when we're safe. Nova sat down next. To him, you fought for me. He looked surprised. You noticed. You're hurt, she said. I'll live, he said. Thanks to you. There was a silence between them. Not awkward. Just quiet, understanding. Nova looked at her hands. I didn't know I could care. You're learning, Ray said. No, she said. I'm changing. Ray nodded slowly. That's even better. The pirate ship drifted behind them, its systems locked, its crew unconscious in their own cells. Nova had controlled every wire, every panel, like the ship was part of her. Because it was, but it took something from her too. Power, energy, pieces of herself. She didn't tell Ray that using her full strength burned her from the inside out. She didn't want him to stop her. She didn't want him to worry, but he already knew. Later, Nova stood alone near the engine room, staring at the stars. She touched the glass. Ray came beside her. They'll send more, she said. Smarter ones. Stronger. Ray shrugged. Then we deal with them. You don't have to fight. I can go alone. He shook his head. Not a chance. She turned to him, confused. Why? I'm not your family. I'm not even human. Ray looked her in the eyes. You're not a project anymore. You're a person, and people don't leave each other behind. Her voice dropped. Bud, I'm dangerous. He stepped closer. So am I. Suddenly, the ship's lights dimmed. Nova froze. Ray checked the console. What is that? A message flashed on the screen, not from outside, but from deep inside the ship's memory core. Primary link found. Nova stared at it. No, she whispered. They're reaching in. Through me. Ray looked at her. Can they control you? She shook her head. Not anymore. The lights flickered again, but this time, Nova didn't wait. She stepped to the console, placed her hands flat on the surface, and closed her eyes. Ray moved to stop her, but didn't. He trusted her now. She opened her mind. The ship's systems blurred. A wave of data hit her brain, locations, frequencies, memories from when she was first activated. She saw cages, needles, screams, hers. She pushed back. The signal screamed. Ray watched as sparks flew from the control panels, Nova's arms glowing like stars, her veins burning white-blue. Then silence. The ship powered down. Nova fell to her knees, breathing hard. Ray ran to her. Nova. She looked up. Slowly, her eyes dim, but alive. They can't use me anymore. Ray held her carefully. You did it. She leaned into him, just a little, just enough. Then whispered, I didn't do it alone. Far away, in a lab buried beneath a black star, monitors went dark. A scientist slammed his fist on the console. She cut the link, he growled. She's evolving. Another voice replied coldly, no, she's choosing. The scientist stared at the screen, a single blinking dot still moving through. Space, she's not a subject anymore. She's a threat. Then send the last team, the voice replied. If they fail, erase the planet she's on. Back on the ship, Ray helped Nova to her feet. You okay? He asked. She nodded weakly. For now? What happens when they come again? He asked. Nova looked at him, steady, strong, ready. Then I fight. Not because they told me to. Not because I was made to. Then why? She looked at him, really looked, because now I have something to protect. They thought she would run. They thought, like before, she would hide in the shadows, drifting from system to system, always scared. Always alone. But Nova was no longer a prisoner, no longer a weapon. Now, she was something even more dangerous. She was free. The stars were quiet, but Nova wasn't. She stood at the edge of the ship's viewing deck, her hands behind her back, her eyes locked on the blinking red light in the distance. Ray joined her silently. That's the signal, isn't it? He asked. Nova nodded. It's them. How long before they get here? She didn't turn. They're already here. In orbit above a dead planet, a massive ship unfolded like a steel flower, smooth, dark, and endless. It didn't broadcast a name. It didn't send warnings. It didn't need to. This was the final team. The last hunters, and they hadn't come to take her alive. Back on their small, half-broken ship, Ray checked the engine. Fuel nearly empty again. Of course, it always came down. To this, he walked back to Nova. We don't have enough to run. I know, she said. We could try to hide. They'll find us. Ray hesitated. We could give them what they want. Nova looked at him, not angry, just tired. They don't want me, she said. They want the version of me that obeys. Ray looked away. I'm sorry, I brought you this far, and now, no. Nova interrupted. You brought me home. He didn't understand at first. Then he saw it. The small, forgotten moon. Below, barely alive, barely spinning. It was her memory, a place where she was first tested, first trained. She remembered trees, wind, a broken sky. A place where she once cried and no one listened. Now she wanted to return, not to mourn, to make her stand. The ship descended. It landed hard on cracked dirt and old steel. The planet didn't welcome them. It only waited. Nova stepped out first. She didn't wear armor. She didn't carry a weapon. Ray followed her. One hand on a small plasma pistol, though he knew it wouldn't help. Above them, the sky tore open. The warship descended like a god falling from heaven, silent, perfect, and full of death. Ray whispered, "We can still leave." Nova turned to him, eyes glowing soft and bright. "If I run now, I'll be running forever. And if you fight, then I end it." A door opened in the sky. A long platform extended. 6 figures walked down in perfect steps, masked, armored. Soulless, they stopped 10 meters away. One of them spoke a voice she hadn't heard in years. Subject 09. Return to protocol, or be neutralized. Nova didn't move. Ray stepped forward. "She's not going anywhere with you." The lead figure turned slightly. "You are irrelevant." Ray raised his weapon. Nova stepped in front of him. "I wasn't built to beg," she said, "but I was made to remember." She lifted her hand. The ground pulsed. The sky dimmed, and for the first time, the warship above flinched. The final protocol activated. Not in them. In her. She didn't power up. She let go of fear, of pain, of the voice in her head that always whispered, "Obey." She released everything, and the world around her changed. The planet responded. Lights under the surface glowing as if it remembered her too. The trees bent toward her. The old systems came online. She didn't destroy them. She unplugged them. Their masks cracked. Their weapons died. One by one, they fell to their knees, systems overloaded. Memory cores wiped clean. Ray watched in awe. She wasn't fighting them. She was erasing their control. Later, the warship rose without sound and turned away. No fight. No commands, just silence. They left her behind, not because she was weak, but because they finally understood. She couldn't be controlled anymore. Ray and Nova stood together on the silent ground. The wind now moving gently through the ruins. "So," Ray said, half smiling, "what now?" Nova looked at the stars. "I don't know," she said. "That's the best part," he replied. She looked at him, not as a weapon, not as a project, just as a person. And for the first time since she was created, she said the words no one ever gave her permission to say, "I'm free."